Hello guys, how are we all? Welcome to Finding the Tea
with Gen Z.
It's Becky speaking right now. Wow, that was so awkward, but yeah, hello, it's Becky.
It's Joey.
It's Val.
Larry.
It's Mitch.
We were gonna rhyme, but we didn't rhyme. Well. So, before we get into this podcast for today, just want to give a little disclaimer, trigger warning. This might be a heavy episode for some. It's based around mental health, so there'll be different topics like anxiety, self-harm, PTSD, depression, like different perspectives and stuff like that. So, if you are someone that gets triggered easily, please turn off now, because we care about your welfare. Okay.
Get out of here.
So, firstly, I just want to start off by asking how everyone actually is doing. And it's time to be honest, guys. Get things off your chest. Have a nice little discussion and show people that it's okay to talk. So, how is everyone?
I feel like this is very telling because depending on how you're feeling that day affects how you see your entire journey. So, like... Yeah. It's important to know how each of us feel where we're coming from today. Should we do like a scale?
Today. Okay, yeah, out of 10. So based on today, recording today, how are you out of 10?
Well, I'm about a 6, I would say. Like, I'm not like awful, but like I'm pretty meh. What's bringing me down the most today was like obviously like the COVID situation is obviously still bothering me. And I'm starting to like second guess going up to Kent, which is where like I went to college, to see a couple people. We were going to wear a mask and stuff and like be as social distancing as possible. Well, I wasn't going out to party. Don't worry, guys. But since of the situation's going on, I feel kind of uncomfortable. And I had somebody on my Facebook post about their grandpa being put onto a ventilator and like to not be messing around and like hanging out with people because right now it's crucial to keep safe right now. So it's kind of like made me second guess it, and that's kind of been putting me down. There's obviously worse situations out there, but like for me it just kind of makes me feel like icky because I was going to go up and now I'm like, well, I mean, keeping people safe is more important, so maybe
but you social distance. I mean, it's just your friends, right?
Yeah, there's only be like two or three of my friends.
I think she's mad at kids in crowds.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm a 6 today, like Val. Every day is a 6. Every day is a meh day.
He's probably the most mentally healthy one of us right now.
It's kind of depressing in itself, though.
At least it's not a one day anymore.
That's true. That's positive thinking.
I think that's my goal, is to get to a place where, like, every day's a 6 or 7 instead of 10s and 1s. Cause
how are you feeling today?
I'm probably like an 8. I feel like the last few days have been better. I don't know. My stuff just goes in like crazy waves. But like day long ones. I'm not like, I don't switch mood like throughout the day, but I don't know. Days are different. So like 8, but I don't know. Like if you have asked me a week ago, it would have been a different answer.
Yeah, I get you.
Ebbs and flows.
Exactly. Life is a roller coaster. I know it's so cliche, but it literally is when you think about it. Up and down, up and down.
Max, how are you doing? You haven't said what you are yet.
Today I am probably about a 5 because I'm just so exhausted and stressed and anxious because my health is just a load of crap recently and I can't keep up with it. So I just feel a bit, well, yeah, meh. Literally meh. It's not good. It's not good at all. So it's nice to know we're all on a downer, basically, apart from Jerry on his solid 8.
I don't know the last time I felt like an 8. Oops.
Same. Literally same.
Well, it's a relative 8. It's a 2019 5, okay? But in 2020, the bar is a lot lower, okay? I'm not doing great.
That's true.
It's true. 2020, what an awful year. So, going off how we're all feeling, how does everyone deal with it? So, obviously, there's different ways, like, therapy, counselling, talking to friends, hobbies, medicine. So how do we all deal with it?
Well, it's interesting that you brought up COVID because I feel like being at home, I know you guys have all been able to maintain some sense of normalcy, but like I've just been like quarantining all the time, and it definitely has kind of forced me to really deal with my mental health because I can't distract myself with anything. So it's just like literally just within the past month or so, I've began trying to cope with it in different ways. I started yoga recently in the morning, like a routine, and like I've started meditating a lot, and it's helped some, but it's definitely not the end all be all. But I've been doing that as far as like Eastern medicine ways to fix it. But I have not tried Western medicine. I'm terrified of it.
I don't really know what Eastern and Western medicine is.
Oh, Becky.
Eastern's about like all this like woo-woo shit of like pray it away.
You can't say that,
No,
Joey.
it's true, and I listen to it. I believe it. I am a woo-woo person.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my god.
Oh, Jesus.
I hope that doesn't get you
Probably cut it.
cancelled.
What about everyone else? How does anyone else deal with it? Are there any holistic? I should have said that. Holistic versus medicine.
Wait. I just want to say, yeah, even though it's only helping slightly, at least it's helping slightly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
well,
slightly...
it helps because I feel like I'm doing something about it, whereas, like, normally it's like, not only am I dealing with the problem itself, but I'm beating myself up because I'm not doing anything about it, you know?
Yeah.
So it definitely kind of helps the cycle. I at least am like, okay, you're trying. Like,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, fair dues. What about you, Mitch?
What was the question?
How do you cope with it?
Dear.
Cope with what?
Your mental
Feeling,
illness.
how you feel?
Oh, I don't.
That's a lie. You
Pills.
take medicine, Mitchell.
You're on pills.
Yeah, that's not really coping. That's just
That's what you're doing to try and cope.
I haven't felt anything in a long time. I am emotionally numb because of these tablets, but at least I'm not having panic attacks anymore or anything like that.
See, this is why I'm scared. Because so many people are like, it's fine, it's great. And then I talk to people and they're like, I'm numb. And I'm like, it's scary to come to terms with, I guess. The fact that you have to choose between being manic or...
Well, someone I spoke with who is also on the same tablets as me said that it levels out after like half a year. So I'm hoping that I will level out and start to feel like good again.
So it's different for everyone because the tablets you're on, I was on them for 2-3 years, and I just constantly felt them, and in the end, I just felt worse than I did in the beginning then for me, I ended up wanting to be able to feel the good and the bads rather than feel nothing at all. So I think the tablets react differently to everyone. So that's the scary thing about trying them, I think. But say them tablets work for you and they didn't work for me, another set of tablets might work for me and not for you, but it's scary trying them.
Yeah. It's like I can still laugh and like feel happy and stuff, which is good, but it's not so much anymore. But like I still can. But like the best part for me, like, because I've tried CBT, which is cognitive behavioural therapy, twice, and I'm on these tablets now. First time I did CBT was for social anxiety. Second time was for post-traumatic stress disorder, which we will get into later. But like, I went through CBT and they were trying to like help my triggers and stuff. One of my triggers is nighttime, and it didn't help. And I don't leave the house at night anymore. But these tablets, I've been walking to work for evening shifts, and it's been dark, and like I haven't been on the verge of a panic attack the whole time. Like I felt fine.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's
like,
awesome.
I got a taxi home the other night, and I got it to drop me off at a takeaway like 5 minutes from my house so I could get some food. And then I walked back from there in the dark, and I was like, wow, I was like, literally, me before these tablets, I would have been having a panic attack, but like, I'm fine.
I'm proud of you.
I felt good. Thank
It's
you.
okay. I'm glad they're working for you. It's a big step. Like, it's a big step admitting that you're not okay, and it's a big step reaching out for help. So,
Yeah.
and there's such stigma about taking medicines as well. Like, what's your opinion, Val? How do you cope with things and stuff?
Well, currently for me, I just try to, I don't know, put myself out there and like do things as much as possible. Like I'm one of those people that wants to like just lay in bed, but like I have to like force myself to get up just because if I don't, then it will get worse, like my like depression. The thing is it's hard to like actually get yourself out of bed at first, and I for some people it's impossible, and I've been there where it's been impossible, but lately I've been like okay enough that I can like get myself out of bed to go do stuff that I need to do. Like I'll go to the gym occasionally, like go to Zumba, or I have to, I guess it's motivation enough that like I have to go to work Monday through Friday, so that gets me out of the house. And like when I am at work, like it's doing something I love, which is teaching. So I just put all my like heart into that, and then at night that's the hardest part for me, is like trying to fall asleep because all the like thoughts come in your head. But I just try to do my best to distract myself and like tell myself it's going to get better. I've tried medicine before, and like I do think I should be on medicine, but for me it's like every time I get on it, I want to get myself off of it as soon as I feel better again, which is awful. But yeah, that's been my like trademark since I was like 15 years old, 14 years old. So it's like I just keep doing it over and over again, and I think that I'll get different results. But you know, I guess I'm insane.
No. But yeah. So you've like tried like medicines and doing things. Basically, you've tried it all really. Exercise, pills, hobbies.
See, like when I went to my doctor last, they pretty much said like realistically I should be on medicine probably for the rest of my life because of like stuff I went through. They said like most likely the best thing for me is combination of therapy and medicine. And they said most likely it's not going to like make it so I shouldn't be on medicine, unfortunately. But
what?
Yeah,
what?
they
Wait.
Yeah.
I thought the point was to like get you to a place that was high enough so that you could look back and try and untangle it and like work through it. I thought that was the point, was to like make you better long enough to fix it. To like
see, my thing is that like I think that there's so many issues with my head that it might just be one of the issues is just not having enough serotonin inside of me. Because even when I was at the happiest, when I was like over in England, like honestly, I was having consistent 9 and 10s over there. I still felt, especially when I got into bed and went and tried to like fall asleep, I still had those thoughts of like recurring like, I want to do something, or I want to, or I'm sad. And like, that's ridiculous when I'm having consistent 9s and 10s on the scale. So I think I think I have like a serotonin issue. So I don't think even if I did have a perfect life, I would still feel depressed in some way. Like you think about celebrities, they still get depression. So yeah.
You can. It is also a clinical thing. Like it can be it could be because of issues in your life, or it could be because of an actual chemical imbalance in the brain.
Yeah, I think I have both. So I think that's why they said like you might not get to the point where you can get off of medication. So
but we're still kind of theorizing at this moment.
Well, of course.
Exactly, like, if it's like, I know it's inherent, and, like, you develop it, and you can't just, like, dig yourself out of it by any means, but we're still theorizing whether, like, it's thought patterns that are repeated, and, like, we've spent 20 years of our life with the same thought patterns that, like, by the time that we decide to try and fix them, there's just so much built up. So, I mean, I don't know, I wish that we could shift the narrative around mental health from something that like we are, like as in like I am bipolar, or like I am depressed and stuff like that, to like the fact that it's literally our entire life's journey trying to feel better, You know, like, I feel like we need to change the narrative as to, like, the things that we deal with that, like, we're struggling with, because I feel like the end goal is getting us out of it, because even if your brain isn't, I don't know, I have a hard time believing that we're just stuck in the negative thought patterns that we got into.
See, I don't think it's a negative thought process, though, for me in particular. I think it is literally, there's a chemical imbalance, so even if I had the correct thought process, I still might feel down and depressed.
Becky, what do you do to cope?
Well, I used to be on same tablets as Mitch for 2 to 3 years. Like I said, they just made me numb, and in the end, it made me a lot worse than I was at the beginning. So I stopped taking them without the doctor's advice. I do not recommend anyone doing that. Please do not cold turkey your meds without following the doctor's advice. Please don't do that. I had a little bit of counselling in uni, which it was weird because when I first started feeling depressed, like I've been depressed, like, I don't know, since I was like 13. It's whatever, it's life now. But I never wanted counselling when I was younger, and then when I had counselling in uni, I found it helped so much because I just like to unload my issues and be able to talk about stuff, but to someone who isn't a friend or a family member, just like a stranger who I can trust, basically. So at the moment, I've been trying to get counselling, but the waiting lists are like huge, like massive, for the NHS. So that's I don't know if that's ever come in. So right now, like, kind of like Val, I know that I have a set schedule every week where I'm going to work, so that motivates me to get out of bed. And then when I'm not at work, I try and like occupy myself with like either listening to music, watching telly, just doing hobbies, like obviously Instagram, just keeping my mind distracted really is how I cope. But my issue is like I don't really battle my problems, which is really unhealthy, and I know it is. I kind of keep everything in my head and don't talk about things until I explode. And then when I explode, I ramble and say everything at once. But I recognise that that's unhealthy, if you know what I mean. So I advise to try and talk as much as possible, but I understand that it's so hard because there's like such massive stigmas about mental health. Like, people are afraid to admit that they have depression or PTSD or schizophrenia or whatever, because there's so many people that still stigmatize it and think that you're crazy. Like, literally, people think you're absolutely crazy if you've got mental health problems. But like Val said, it's literally chemical imbalances in your brain. There's so many reasons why you could be going through a mental health issue, like death in a family, bullying, literally even having like illnesses, like physical health conditions can cause mental health conditions. There's so many reasons, and sometimes you don't even need a reason. You don't even know why you're sad. It just really annoys me that there's so many people that just don't care about mental health issues, like because it's in your brain and you can't always see it. People just don't get it, and they literally think you're going mad. And it's disgusting, and that's why people struggle to talk about when they're unhappy. So getting help is the hardest thing to do, and people feel alone. And
well,
yeah.
You said that you've dealt with this since you were 13, right?
Oh God, you guys know. How long has it been since I was like 13?
Course. But that makes me want to ask the question to everyone here. What were your experiences when you first started talking to your parents about it? Because I remember I never did, because whenever I would bring it up to my grandma, because, you know, she was so old and so old, I can't say that, because she was older. She was a woman of a particular age. Yeah. And for so many older people, it just doesn't exist. So, like, they would be like, she would always, as, like, my parent, get kind of upset in the sense of, like, I do everything for you. Like, there's nothing that you should feel bad about. Did you have any of those experiences of, like, your parents thinking you were ungrateful?
Yeah, like, I never told my mum or anything about when I was depressed and self-harming and stuff. They actually found something on the internet. Won't go into that. Regarding me, and my mum, I think it's because they clearly don't understand, like, and that's not being nasty. I just don't think they get it.
Well, they've been gaslit their entire lives to believe that they're
Well,
fine
yeah.
and that they don't feel any of this. So because of that, it's like someone in a cult. Like, their entire belief system is built around this
Yeah.
thing that us telling them that they haven't been okay their entire lives is not something that they are equipped to
Yeah.
deal with. You know, to understand you, they have to look at themselves and be like, oh my god, my entire life has been...
Yeah. I'm kind of
You
glad
know?
you said that, though, about your mum, because my mum was basically the same. She was like, I've done my best for you. You've had everything you want. Like, I don't understand why you feel this way. There's nothing to feel bad over. And I was like, but you're not in my head. You don't see it how I see it, and you don't feel it how I feel it. So it might be like a generation thing. Like, I don't really know. What about you two, Mitch, Val?
So my dad was pretty like supportive about stuff. I don't talk to about my mental health to my mom because other reasons, so I won't go into there. But when it comes to my dad, he's been pretty supportive. I think he kind of understood with me because like I lost my brother at such a young age. My dad kind of like understood why I might be depressed, like because he was depressed too. So like we might have different like reasons for being depressed. Like mine's not just only about my brother, it's about like countless other reasons. But like him having that like our mutual understanding that like both of us have gone through something super traumatic made it easier to talk about mental health with my parents. I still didn't a lot. My parents found my dad found like notes that were kind of like not the greatest about my mental health and things, and he pretty much confronted me like, hey, like I saw this note. See that you have self-harmed in the past. Like, I'm here for you. I never want you to like go anywhere type of deal.
Yeah.
And like, we can get into counseling. Like, you don't have to go through this alone. And I don't want you to hide your like illness from me.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
So,
that's
like,
so nice.
Yeah. So,
And I think that's how we're all going to act our entire generation as
Right.
parents, you know?
yeah. But for the most part, my parents were, well, at least my dad was really accepting of like what I was going through and what I needed to do to help myself get better.
That's nice.
Yeah. It must be hard, though. I mean, I understand why some parents can react the way that, like, mine and Becky's did. I'm glad that yours didn't, but, like, I'm sure he still felt it. Like, it must be awful to have to wonder, like, as a parent, like, did I do this? Like,
I think that's
what
what
did
it
I
is.
do in raising my child to make them not happy? And it's not like that at all.
Exactly.
But, like, it's just... And it's so hard to reassure your parents that, like, you don't... It's not them.
It's not their fault. Literally, it's not their fault. And I think that's a big reason as to why they question it. Like, now that my mum knows it's not a phase, now my mum and everyone else is more accepting. They know that this is me and I struggle with mental health, and they accept it now. I think it just took time at the start, and as time went by, they get it more. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because I can talk to her now, kind of, and she hasn't got the same attitude as she had at the start. So, yeah.
Mitch?
Go on, Mitch.
Do you talk about it with your mum?
A bit, but like not much. But she has the same struggles, but I'm quite a private person, so I don't tell her much, and I don't tell my dad anything either. So
You should talk about it more with her, especially if she has a lot of the same problems. If anything, it's possibly like generational, and like you guys could work together to like fix this for not fix, but learn how to cope with it.
yeah, maybe. I don't know though. I find it easier to talk to people my own age.
That's fair.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, I think we all have the vocabulary to talk about it because other generations are still like learning. We're like having to
No, that makes
educate
sense.
them.
Yeah.
See, I find it a lot easier to talk about it with someone that is also going through something similar. Do you know what I mean? So I'd rather talk to my auntie than my mum about it because my auntie has bipolar and she understands. Do you know what I mean? Instead of talking to someone like my mum that just doesn't really get it.
Well, because you don't want pity.
Yeah,
like, you don't want
exactly.
someone to just comfort you. You want someone to, like, relate to you. And people just don't really know. Like, all they can do is, like, pat you on the back and be like, it's gonna be okay if you haven't
Sometimes,
gone
like,
through
when
it.
you talk, it's just nice to talk and you don't want any advice and stuff. But sometimes you want to talk and you want the advice. It's just nice to be able to talk. Like, with us, I know that, you know, we've been through, like, quite a few things. But, like, when we were talking about coping with things earlier on, Mitch, you mentioned PTSD. So do you want to touch upon that?
Yeah. So, long story short, I was pretty much attacked on the street about a year and a half ago. They tried to mug me, but I ran away. Don't know why. It was like fight or flight, and obviously I flighted. Bye. Anyway, and then, like, I hid from them. They had a knife, and they threw a hammer at me while I was running. It was kind of intense. I'm not gonna lie.
Who throws a hammer at someone to mug them?
Well, yeah, there was two people. One was in front of me, one cut in front of me and had the knife. The other person was behind me with the hammer. And I was like, oh, God. So I ran. And he threw a hammer at me. Sorry for yawning again. Yeah, so... And then I hid in someone's front garden and called the Popo. And yeah, it's been a very difficult year and a half since that. And I went to the doctor and he was like, oh, it sounds like you've got post-traumatic stress.
So what exactly is, for, like, people that might not know, like, what exactly is PTSD?
It's like, I don't really know how to describe it.
Can you take us through, like, what happens when a trigger happens? Like, what happens to you? Like, why... How does this haunt you, like, in actuality?
Yeah. So, a trigger is, like, something that triggers your brain to, like, relay an event that traumatized you. My counsellor described it as, like, PTSD is when there's a really piece of overwhelming information that is stuck on, like, your conveyor belt in your brain, and your brain, like, acts as a conveyor belt. It intakes new information and it files it away somewhere. And it was like, she said, it's like stuck on the conveyor belt and it keeps getting, like, stuck, so it keeps coming to the forefront of your mind all the time, which is what happened to me. Like, I was always thinking about that attack, even though I didn't want to. I was trying to, like, think about other things, and it would just come to the... Even if I was, like, I don't know, like, with my old housemates, like, we were watching a film or something, it'd, like, come to the very forefront of my mind for no reason whatsoever, and then it'd make me really anxious and nervous and stuff. It's different for different people, and like, I know it doesn't sound like it was that big of a thing, perhaps, for me, but
you
it's
were
different.
robbed at
Almost.
knife point and someone threw a hammer at you. This is
That's massive, Mitch.
This is not just, like, a little incident. Like, I would be horrified.
When you think of PTSD, you think of, like, like, soldiers and things.
Yeah.
Like the
like,
stereotypical talked about stories. This is again.
But it happens to anyone.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, it really changed me. Like, I stopped going out at night time. I was really, 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 like, irritable for many months for no reason. I'd lash out at my housemates for no reason. I'd just be in a bad mood all the time. Yeah. So then I went to CBT for it, and she said she was going to try and work through this blockage to try and file it away by making me relive it, and I had to keep talking about it and things like that to try and help my brain process it to file it away. I think it worked a little bit. It didn't work too much because I was still having thoughts afterwards, and I just think naturally after that it did help me, but it took a bit longer after the sessions for it to be fully processed.
So you're obviously talking about it now. How do you feel right now talking about it?
It still makes me anxious when I'm talking about it. Like, I feel a bit anxious now, but, like, it's something I mean, it's something bad that happened, so obviously it's going to make me feel a bit nervous when I'm talking about it.
What are the kinds of things that you tell yourself whenever you're getting anxious about it? Like, to help calm yourself down?
I don't.
Oh.
That's probably not a very good coping mechanism, but I don't really normally find a need to talk about it, so I guess that's like...
I feel like when, like I said before, and like you just said, it's probably not a very good coping mechanism to deal with it. At least we recognise that. Do you know what I mean? The fact that we recognise that it's not a good coping mechanism is really important.
Yeah.
That's half the battle.
And
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
true.
I think it's so, like I'm so proud of you for like being able to talk about like what you went through and like being able to talk freely about PTSD, because like you said, like when you think of PTSD you think of soldiers and maybe house fires and stuff like that, like stereotypical things that are mainly spoken about. But I feel like you can get PTSD from basically anything, because it will obviously
you can get PTSD from like someone really close to you dying.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think obviously if everything affects everyone differently, so I feel like you talking about that will hopefully help someone who might not think their problem is, like you said, oh, it doesn't sound like a big deal. Like someone else might think that, and now hopefully they'll be able to recognise it is a big deal and I can feel this way about it because I went through it. So it's actually really nice and amazing that you can talk about what you went through.
Yeah. And like it's still like, well, before I was on these tablets, it was I'm on sertraline, aka Zoloft, in the States, for anyone who is American listening right now, or any other country that says Zoloft. Before I was on those, like I'd still get triggers. So like people in hoods, because they were wearing hoods, that used to trigger me. Going out at nighttime, just nighttime in general, being outside at nighttime, that was another one. The third one, there was, what was it?
I swear I remember you said something about a sound or something.
Loud noises used to make me... I was so jumpy, and loud noises used to trigger me, but like that was, they had nothing to do with what, like, my attack, so it was like a random trigger, but it still reminded me like of it. I guess because I was startled, and like the feeling, the nervous feeling I'd get after. I'm still quite jumpy now, but I think it's just like part of like me now. I think overall now I'm okay, but I think that's because of these tablets, because before I was still getting triggers and stuff. Now not so much. People like at work, chavs would come in. For anyone who doesn't know what a chav is, it's like a hooded youth who acts a certain way. Quite
Google it.
Yeah, Google it. That's the way I can say it. I don't want to offend anyone. I'd like, my heart would be like, I don't want to serve these people. I don't want to talk to them. Now I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll just do it. So yeah, but my advice to anyone who has gone through anything like that, or is feel like they might like, they're sitting there and they're like, oh, I might actually, have this. Talk about it. Talk to your doctor. Talk to a friend about it. Don't rely on Google all the time as well, because that's what I did, and I panicked a lot. And just have faith that one day things are going to get better. Also, one thing I forgot to mention, nightmares were a big problem for me as well. Like reoccurring.
Specifically about the incident?
Yeah.
Wow.
I still get them now, but they're not as bad. So yeah, but then I also think my medication is causing me a lot of wacky dreams. So
when I was on sertraline, my dreams were crazy.
My dreams are dead wacky as well.
Yeah, really vivid though. Well, thank you for talking about all that, Mitch, because it's really important to talk about PTSD and other illnesses like PTSD, because every mental health issue is important, but I feel like people only mainly speak about depression and anxiety. And I feel like all illnesses, they all need to have a voice behind them. So it's really
we're all
important
dealing with our own issues, because like, again, like I was saying before about changing the narrative of all of this, is like, I wish people I think are really worried to talk about their mental health issues in fear of like people thinking that they're not normal, like quote unquote. And I know that everyone deals with that, but it's like we're all basically like video game stats, you know, like it with every personality trait, with everything that we deal with like the different issues that we have, like they're all at different levels. Like I feel like we all have our own things, and it's just crazy because like everyone deals with feeling bad and having to pick themselves out of it, or like getting anxious and having to calm themselves down. It's just at a different level. I mean, even with PTSD, it's weird because, you know, every reaction that we have to anything in life is fueled and triggered and informed by previous experiences that we had that made us feel the same way that the current one does. But it's just like when you're dealing with PTSD specifically, it's just so intense that you can't see around it.
I think it's really important to mention as well, a lot of people don't want to talk about their issues because they think, oh, well, other people have it worse. It's not that important. I just want to put out there that no matter what your problem is, don't compare it to other people because it's how you're feeling. And if you don't feel good, then that's valid. Don't compare your problems to anyone because everyone's problems are important, because everyone's feelings are so, so important.
Yeah, they're so important. Every human being on this planet has the right to strive to feel good. Like, if you don't feel okay, if you think like, well, I guess this is just life, like I'm down all the time, like I'm dealing with these things, I can't be really happy, get help. Like, ask for help. I mean, you have the right to have a good life. And you don't just have to accept having bad mental health. Like, being ill. You don't have to just accept being ill.
Mm-hmm. You're not a burden. You're not a burden at all. Okay, so, moving on. Val, have you got anything you want to touch upon that's personal to you?
Well, we've talked about, like, good, coping mechanisms, but we haven't yet talked about, like, the bad ones we've had over the years. I know some of you guys might have had some yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I know one of my bad ones was, like, self-harm. I did it especially when I was younger. I, like, battled with it probably between, like, age, like, 13. I think the first time I self-harmed was when I was 14. And then I dealt with it up until I was, like, 18, 19. I think the last time that I self-harmed was 19. So, yeah. So it's been a while, but, it was actually 20. The last time I did it was when I was in England. So now I can think about it.
That's still 4 years.
Yeah, so it's been a while, but I am very proud of getting that out of my life because, like, every single time I did it, I didn't feel better. Like, it was a bad coping mechanism because it didn't do anything for me. It made relief for, like, a few seconds because I was, like, getting some anger out or getting some sadness out and, like, making something else, making me feel something else besides the pain I had inside. But it didn't help in the long run because I would just get mad at myself after doing it because I'd be like, I have these marks now, and, like, these marks are not, like, they don't make me feel better about myself, so why am I doing it? And it would just make me feel worse. So I don't know if you guys had bad coping mechanisms yourself. Anyone else want to talk about stuff?
I was the same when I started self-harming when I was about 13, 14 probably as well. I think the last time I did it I was 19, 20 because I think I was in my second year of uni and I've just graduated this year. Sometimes I still get thoughts that I want to do it, but I'm the same as you. Like, every time I did it, it didn't help me. I got nothing out of it. I ended up just doing it because it was like kind of like a schedule to me. Like, I was so used to doing it that I just had to do it. But it was, honestly, I'm so glad I don't do it anymore because I'm not ashamed of it because I've learned from it and that's how I felt at the time, so I'll never be ashamed of it, and I've still got a few scars and I'm like, oh, but I kind of look at it like, I know it's cliche, but it was kind of like that battle that you went through and you won, that kind of thing. But it's really sad when people think that they actually have to hurt themselves because they're hurting so much inside. And
Yeah.
it's such a popular thing.
Well,
that
it's also
people do,
such
and
a
it's just-
traumatic. It's such an intense experience mentally and physically that like it's literally like addictive, just because of
Yeah, it is.
how crazy. Like I've never dealt with it, but I think about it in the same way as I think about like me not being addicted to coke or like crack. Like it's literally just that I never did it. I mean,
Yeah.
if you could push yourself over that edge once, then you've done it, you know? Whereas like I'm just glad I never did it the first time, because I know I would have gotten trapped in it. And it's so awful to deal with it at such a young age, I'm sure, because it's not like you guys even really were aware of the situation you were even going through, you know?
Yeah.
Actually.
And there's so many people in my life, and I'm constantly surprised when I talk to people and hear about their stories, because it's the kind of thing that you really don't talk about. I mean, I was grateful to be around you guys, and I knew about your struggles, but like out in the real world, like people just aren't talking about it, and then like everyone thinks they're alone.
I think people need to be more talking about it, because like, I don't know, like I had a teacher in high school who I think that had all the good intentions in the world, but she like saw my self-harm scars. I used to do it on my upper arm, and I guess I was wearing short sleeves that I thought would cover it, but they like came up. And she saw them, and she came up to me and like asked me to stay after class, and she talked to me. She's like, do you want me to tell anyone? Like she was pointed to them and stuff like that, and I said like, no, I don't want anyone to know. Please don't do that, please, I don't really want you to. And then she didn't tell anyone, and she just let me walk out. And I know she was just trying to do what she thought was best, because I told her not to. But looking back, I think that she should have said something to at least the counselors or something, because
I think legally she has to, but she
yeah,
didn't.
because the thing is that like, what if I was like on the verge of doing worse to myself? I also had another experience, not to put my school under the bus or anything, but I had another experience where a counselor, we did something called Redo Day, where basically it would be a way for us to all like gather in the gym, and we would do like step over the line if you've experienced this. There used to be an MTV show about kind of that.
Oh, I've
And
seen it.
so we did that, and one of the things was like, I guess there was like teachers that are looking out and like seeing like how often people were stepping over the line, and like I got flagged as like being somebody that was often stepping over the line, because I identified with a lot of the stuff that was going on. And I got called to the counselor's office, and the counselor pretty much said, hey, you...
What school was this? Sorry, what? Like, not the school, but like what level
high school.
was this again?
So basically what happened is that I got called down to the office, and well, not the office, but like the counselor's office, and they had me sit down, and I was like, they're like, we noticed that you stepped over the line, like we wanted to talk to you about it, like, are you okay? And I said like, yeah, I'm okay. And then they're like, the counselor was like, well, you seem like a really happy girl, you always are smiling and things, so I'm gonna let you go. And I walked out. But like at the time, I was not okay. I wasn't okay. I mean, I wasn't like to the point where I was going to like off myself, but I was thinking about it almost daily at that time. So like,
That's insane. I can understand being a tricky situation for the first teacher, because I mean, think about, what if your parents were really like awful and strict and like threw you in a mental hospital and like really were awful?
I can forgive her a little bit, because
it's the counselor.
This one is a counselor, literally hired to take care of the kids. And
he was
emotions
about to be retired and stuff like that, and I don't think he cared. So yeah, it was awful. I do want to say that the high school I went to has gotten a lot better at mental health, as far as I know. due to the fact that I've seen a lot of like effort done on their social media to get better at caring about mental health and making sure that you take care of yourself and do self-care. I definitely think they have taken more attention to people that are going through a rough time due to the circumstances that have happened in my school. Like there's been a few like suicides, and I definitely think that they are more aware of what they need to do to help students that are going through mental health struggles. And I also know that they are trying to teach more mindfulness even at a younger age. So I think that it's going to be looking up for kids that go to my school district now that they are being more aware of what they need to do to help people with mental health.
I was very pleasantly surprised with the big shift from high school with no one talking about it, not caring, to college. Because my university, I know we had like not unlimited, but it was like, I think it was like 10 counselor visits a semester for free. Like they really encouraged us to go and talk to therapists that were there on campus all the time. And it's a very different environment. I don't know. Did you guys how were your colleges with that?
As in uni.
Uni, yeah, your uni.
We could have, I think it was 6 sessions a year from the counsellor. I think that's what we were entitled to. I don't know. I think I know one other person that went, apart from me.
Really?
Yeah, no one.
Oh, they're always telling us to go do it.
See, with us, like there was only like a few counsellors, and I know that the waiting list was so long for students to get any counselling, so people just gave up.
My school was really good with it. Like we had like counseling services like offered up to us quite often, and on top of that, they had people that were like grad students who were like almost certified to be an actual counselor. They would like sit and like do the meetings with people as well, so we had more people. Yeah, they weren't completely certified, but I felt comfortable enough that like they were like one step away that I could talk to them about my problems. I didn't go very often, to be honest. Should have went more often, but our actual counselors, like the people that were like certified, we had a long wait for them, like literally like a month and a half to like get in.
God.
So
God, but then once you're in, then you can schedule often.
Right. But I didn't take advantage of that, but I did go to like the student counseling quite often, a little bit more often, maybe like once a month type of deal.
I think I only got my student counselling because I applied for it online in the summer before I was meant to start the second year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. They gave it to all of us from the beginning, but I'm sure it's in our... we paid for it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it's there. I'm sure it's factored in. But, like, every time that I've gone, I've been in such a bad place that I'm, like, ready to, like, throw everything up and be like, this is what I think is the problem, we need to fix it. And counselors are always like, okay, hold on. Like, we need to talk about this for a longer amount of time. So that's always been my struggle with therapy, is like, I want to get in and like really fix it. And they're like, we need to calm down and slow down. But like, if we slow down, then I give up.
I get you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
My university was crap with that. Abysmal. Honestly, it riles me up.
Because you were still in school whenever you had your experience, and they were awful.
Yeah, and I went. I had an emergency appointment, and the woman was like, this was in like March, and the woman was like, I was like proper crying to her and everything, and she was like, maybe you could, because I was like, I can't sleep, I'm having nightmares, and she was like, maybe you should read a book before you go to bed to help you fall asleep. And I was like, are you fucking joking me? Excuse my French. I honestly, universities here need to do a better job with funding their mental health services, because there are a lot of students in crisis, and going to someone for help and being told stupid things like that doesn't help.
I can see, like, counselors suggesting reading a book and stuff if you're just feeling a bit anxious or something before you go to sleep, but when you've literally just been basically mugged, you're not going to be able to sit there and read a book. I don't think.
Well, that's like what I was talking about, that like I feel like they want to slow down and be like, let's try these things, when you're like, no, I've been trying these things. They're not working. Like,
Yeah.
please, can we do something more, take me seriously. Like, it's hard to get people to take you seriously from the get-go.
Like, afterwards, I was like, I'm just going to book another appointment because it might help. So I went to book another appointment, and this was early March. They didn't have another free appointment until the end of May.
That's awful.
Welcome to Britain and mental health.
Yeah, we talked about this a bit in the first episode, I think.
Yeah.
God.
I was fuming.
Before we close, I want to get all Drag Race on you guys, okay? Really fast, okay? I want to know, concisely, what would let's start with you, Becky, our host. What would you say to little 13, 14-year-old Becky, knowing what you know now?
Knowing what I know now, I would say, look, girl, I know you don't think things are going to be okay, but they're going to be okay, and everything you've been through has been a struggle, but you've learned from it, and you've grown, and you're amazing, and you're going to recognise your worth, and you're going to recognise that it's completely okay to feel things, and you don't have to be happy all the time, and you don't have to hide your emotions. Don't hurt yourself. Don't hate yourself. Just go with the flow, breathe, and it's all going to be completely fine. Trust me. That's what I'd say to myself.
That's beautiful.
No.
Mitch, what would you say to, I guess, I mean, you can either do really, like, younger Mitch dealing with your other issues, or the other things that you deal with, or you
mental health issues when I was 13, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, well then what would you say to Mitch right at the beginning of dealing with this?
So a year and a half ago.
Yeah, what would you say to Mitch a year and a half ago?
The clouds will clear. Don't be afraid to talk about it. And you're allowed to feel angry for something that is not your fault.
I love that. So important.
Val, what would you say to little Valerie?
I would say take time to grieve, because sometimes it's really easy to just try to like push everything down and move on, but at the end you need to take that time to grieve, or you will not be able to properly heal, and you'll have to deal with it for years to come. So yeah, just take time to take care of yourself.
And what about you, Joey?
I would say to little Joey, I would say, hang in there. It's gonna get worse before it gets better a lot of times. And there's gonna be points where you feel like maybe things never were really that bad. And there's gonna be times where you think, my life has been completely awful and I don't want to be here anymore forever. There's gonna be ups and lows. I'm not gonna say it gets better, but you get better. And you're gonna learn how to deal with it.
Aww.
And you're gonna become stronger and be able to tackle this and help everyone else in their journey.
I absolutely love that.
That's perfect.
Especially when you said, I'm not going to say that it gets better, but you get better. I think that's so, so important.
Yeah.
Well, that was lovely. Thank you for
Wow.
bringing that all up, Joey.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, guys, I know that's been a bit of a heavy episode this week, but sometimes the most important things to talk about can be a bit sensitive, but I'm glad that we've been able to speak freely and comfortably, and hopefully to you guys listening, some of this will be able to help you. And honestly, just take from this that it's okay to feel how you're feeling. However you're feeling, it's fine. And try your best to just speak to at least one person, because I truly believe a problem shared is a problem halved, and you don't have to face anything alone.
Totally agree.
I think we found some great tea this week. We found
Exactly.
it.
This is the special tea, guys.
Yes.
This is like
isn't
the-
the special tea
bit-
meth?
Oh.
Isn't that what tea?
what?
That's what they call meth, is tea.
Oh,
Oh god.
I was
Should we
gonna say
rethink
it's
our
not a little
podcast
bit.
name?
It is.
Wow. Why do we use tea for so many different things? Okay.
Well, this is a signing off kind of vibe, I think. So guys, go and get a cup of tea now. Go and have a brew. Do whatever you need to do, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye. Bye.